Number seven. This one seems obvious, right, James? Like we could just say this and everyone would be like, cool, got it. Ask for reviews. But there's so much more to this, or else everyone would be doing it already. So um, we'll intro with a little stat here. And James, I'm sure you have anecdotes of your own, but if you could just speak to like just how important reviews are.
Yeah, I mean, the way that we buy these days is we buy based off of social proof. And I would say, especially when it comes to anything associated with your home, you're letting somebody into your space or it's your future space. You know how expensive it can be if you bring somebody to inspect your home that misses things. So there is so much trust that goes into a relationship. And the way, whether it makes sense or not, that we sort of build trust with vendors these days, a lot of times is by looking at reviews and looking at, if you think about it, you could sit down with a home inspector, have a great conversation with them, all those things, and feel fairly comfortable with them. But the thing that will usually push you over the edge is kind of the background check, which these days means going in and looking at reviews. So even though you don't know anyone who's leaving those reviews, there's a general assumption that they're going to be mostly true and a good representation of what that you're going to get when you work with somebody. And I think this number at the bottom is really crazy if you think about it. It's a 3.3 is a minimum star rating of a business for a consumer to consider engaging going to. I was thinking about this the other night when I was looking at restaurants on Yelp. It's like if you get somebody 4.5 or greater, maybe I consider it, but anything less than that, and anything under 4 especially, you just don't even want to go with them. And so like this 3.3 is even lower than that, right? Like you may have a little bit of more space than when I'm picking a restaurant, but still you're in a situation where bad reviews can hurt you. So obviously you want to be doing everything possible right when you're doing the home inspection, but also you want to stack the cards in your favor. So when you have a good home inspection, you got to get a review, especially early on. Make sure every time you're going in and trying to ask for a review, ask multiple times. We kind of talk through all that. But yeah, it's so critical to your business.
I would venture to say we need to, I like maybe this 3.3. I can't remember when we pulled the stat if it was in a crowded competitive market. Okay, maybe it's a little lower, but like, or higher, you could argue too. So I'd venture to say the new norm is 4.0. Like,
Yeah.
you got to stay above that. Some markets, people hate everything and it's lower, but with home inspection, from what I've seen, 4.0 and above. So we could break down this page for a second here, Chance. I know you've talked to home inspectors quite a bit on the bubble, and now as an account manager, but this is just illustrating that we didn't have to be at the top of this page against our two competitors to get more click throughs. And maybe you can just break down a little bit as to why. Because like as a human eye scanning this, we have to think like consumers, right?
Nope. No, it's one of those, you look at the rating, obviously 4.0 and up is what we're kind of aiming for. So the ratings there, the reviews, you can be a 5.0, but do you have 5 reviews, or are you a 4.8 with 500 reviews? So you got to kind of take everything with a grain of salt, don't just give it a quick once over, but kind of dig in and think about it. And honestly, click in the reviews. I always, as a consumer, I love clicking the worst reviews to see what some people say, because sometimes they're not even bad reviews. They're just petty people who had a bad time and it was nothing to do with the inspector. So don't be scared of bad reviews. Also, I would encourage you to respond with them and say, hey, I'm sorry this went your way or didn't go your way. How can I improve or help? And it shows, empathy. And that's what a lot of folks take into consideration, is that you are accountable and that you're willing to fix mistakes, because we all make them.
Yeah. And I bet a lot of inspectors watching this are new or in their first year, second year, third year, even, and maybe look at the Google rankings and say, man, how am I ever going to catch these companies or these guys that are up there? And I can assure you that with consistency and relentlessness asking, you start climbing that mountain. And we did it at Spectora since the early days. We used to look at the competitors and say, God, we're never going to catch them. But you just keep asking and keep showing up. And it does snowball at a certain point. So don't want anyone to get discouraged when they Google in their area and see the multi-inspector company with 20 guys has 1,000 reviews. It's like, you got to start competing. This is an interesting one, James, because you mentioned the restaurant analogy, and like I think that might be a good one to even use as an analogy with this, of like long term, if the inspectors watching want to charge more, what better proof is there than the certainty that it's going to be a good experience, right? So like take us through your mind when it comes to either restaurants or anything else when you're like, I'll pay a little more.
Yeah, I think when you think of home buyers, you're going to have people of all types, right? You're going to have people that are out there trying to save as much money as possible, but you're probably going to have a large amount of people, especially if you're in a more competitive market, that are folks that may lean slightly more towards almost like the luxury feel, right? And those are the people that are going to spend a little bit more money for something if it makes them feel more comfortable, if they feel like they're going with a proven vendor. We can all go buy pants at Walmart, but for some reason, people are still out there buying expensive pants at Nordstrom, right? There's a feeling that there's going to be more quality, that there's going to be a better, service component, whatever that may be, that goes with it. And so, by having those good reviews, people are willing to part with some more of their money just to have the opportunity to reduce the chance of something bad happening. And I think when I think about myself and my buying behavior, I would say, I am telling myself the story in the back of my head of like what could go right and what could go wrong before I buy something. I think Chance was dead on. I'm the same guy. I like love going to the 1-star reviews and just being like, okay, let me see all the things that could possibly go wrong with this. And if I'm willing to like get through those issues, or I feel like I could get some sort of remedy, then I'll still go with that. But yeah, I mean, people out there understand that sometimes you have to pay a little bit more for quality. Hopefully, in the way that you position yourself and your website and in your marketing, they can really see that, you are more delivering more of a premium service, even if it's just at a slightly higher price. And that's things like your website are going to help you do that. Your relationships with agents are going to help you do that. But just make sure that you understand long term, these great reviews are going to lead you to being able to charge more. And what's better than that, I guess, at the end of the day, in an industry that sometimes has a problem upping their prices, like those reviews will get you into a little bit more of that rarefied air where you can charge more.
Well said. And we've all spoken to larger companies that their average inspection price is 600, 700, 800. And guess what? They all have a ton of good Google reviews. So there's definitely a correlation there. Just today, I was shopping. I was getting estimates on a little bumper fix on my car because I had a little run in with the side of my garage, but we won't talk about that. And I got 2 different estimates. I went with the higher one because they were higher rated, had more reviews. I think it was only 0.1 or 0.2 higher stars. But to some of our other points in this presentation, they had texting, they had a quick like estimate process, higher reviews. So I went with them, and I was willing to even kick out the solution a little longer. So in real time, it's cool to see that, to say like, I want to be more assured of a good experience, therefore I'll pay a little. Chance, inspectors often think they're bugging people. That's what they always say. I don't want to bug people. I don't want to ask too much. What if they really left me a review? Like, what do you say to
that? It's 2 thoughts. Like, I understand you don't want to be a salesman or spammy or something like that. I can respect that. But honestly, people don't mind. And especially if you help them just get their dream home, they're very appreciative. If you did a bang up job, like I know most of you guys do, like a review's not a big deal. I will share a little secret that I learned almost a year ago, and I'll never forget it. An inspector offers a $100 gift card, but to get that, you got to go to his social media, like and follow him, and then give him a review. He submits in a pot. He gives a video once a month. Everyone wins a $100 gift card to Starbucks. So he's spending $100 to generate 100 reviews. So it's J2. Maybe you can speak to the price of it, but I find that kind of cheap.
I mean, it's super cheap. It's super cheap, and I think that's like, that tiny bit of incentivization is a really interesting idea. I have during the pandemic times, I had a lot of issues with my neck. Never been to a chiropractor before. Went and found the one nearby with the best ratings, and he had couple thousand reviews, which I thought was insane. And then I went and I started getting treated by him, and over the course of a couple months, my neck was feeling amazing and a lot better. But as we started making any progress at the end of every session, he would ask me if I would leave a review if I feel like he's doing a good job. And the incentivization on that was like a t-shirt, which turned out to be like the worst quality t-shirt you can possibly think of. It wasn't even like, give it to your spouse to wear when they're sleeping. It was like scratchy and bad. But every single time he asked. And then eventually I started seeing why this guy was a monster at reviews online and why he had the flow of business he did is because he was asking every single time. Did it get a little bit annoying from time to time? Yeah, maybe, but that's part of building the relationship to begin with. If you can build a solid relationship in the process of going through that home inspection, asking won't be so hard. And hopefully they won't take as long as I took for my chiropractor to leave a good review, because I was just kind of waiting for my head to fall off at some point or something. But, incentivize a little bit, but ask. It's such an important part of your business. And like Chance said, if you could spend $1 a review, like I'd do that all year. That's it's the
all
simplest,
day.
the best marketing spend I could possibly think of.
And I would say if you're insecure about asking too much, evaluate why and think about like how much confidence do you have in the client experience you're offering? Is it your knowledge? Is it because you're new? And there's ways to work around those things. I've heard new inspectors basically not announce that they're brand new, but let people know that like, hey, I've been in construction 20 years, done 5-10 inspections, but I've seen thousands of houses. So don't even worry. And then they ask for a review to kind of like take the edge off. Cause I know the typical fear is I've only done 1 inspection or 5. What if I screw it up and ask for a review? But I think asking for a review in an automated way levels you up in a sense. It sets an expectation high.
Just one other thing on that, just real quick. I think, and this is, up to you if you want to do this, but I know a lot of businesses when they first start out and, to make it fully legit, go to a friend's house and do some home inspections. Like go to your friends and then have them leave you a review. It doesn't have to be a paid thing. You went and you did an inspection. If they had a good experience with it, that could seed things at least. And it is, I will say, hard to get that first review. So find creative ways to do that. I have friends, my spouse, they've started businesses that are in kind of the home services world. And that's kind of the first step is like work for some friends or family and get those reviews first. It'll kind of get you off the blocks. And again, I think the more reviews you have, the easier it is to get more reviews.
Love it. Charge them $1 if you want it to feel like a legit transaction. Charge them $1.
Exactly.
Whatever.
Exactly.
But yeah, that's a good call. Mentioning it on site, it's a hard thing to do because we're all tech, in this tech enabled world. It's easier to send an email or a text. But Chance, you're a good connection guy. Everyone likes you. Everyone likes Chance. That's just how it goes. But like when you look someone in their eye, you shake their hand, you connect, right? And I think you have a special ability to do that. But like, I don't know if you can just encourage inspectors or tell them anything to say, like, just make sure it's part of your process.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, get good at it and practice it. I mean, if any of you guys are athletes or fishermen out there, you had to practice at it to get good. So I kid you not, look yourself in the mirror at night and practice it 10 times before you go to bed. Get comfortable talking to yourself. And when you talk to someone in person, it's going to be muscle memory. You don't have to think about it. You're not going to have to force it. It's there.
Oh, it's great advice. It's great advice. Underrated. And yeah, we all feel weird talking to ourselves in the mirror, but like get those bad reps out, like at home or to your spouse or whatever, and then or your kids, dog, whatever. So yeah, mention it on site before and after. And this will tie to the automation piece in a second, but like we Inspectora, you can dictate when these emails go out. So James, that's the beauty of being able to say, hey, in a couple of days, you're going to get an email. And then it's just, then the person's looking out for it, maybe even subconsciously. But yeah, maybe you could just speak to the power of automation in general.
Yeah, I mean, automation is sort of the superpower for a small business. If you're actually out there automating things, it's like a force multiplier. You just look a lot bigger than you actually are. And it looks like you have your stuff together. I think that's the other thing is we have to keep remembering that the bar keeps going up for sort of service and communication around service. And so having automation built into your business to begin with is incredibly important. And then when it comes to things like getting reviews, it does two things. First, it allows you to not have to go through the mental cycle of like, okay, now I'm going to pick up the phone, I'm going to call this person, I'm going to like go through all of it, and just the pressure that kind of sometimes puts on you. And also, you're not going to forget it. So it will just happen automatically. And that's really what you want, is these things happening automatically while you're doing other more valuable work. And so these reviews are super valuable, but if you can automate part of it, completely worth it. And I think what you said there, Kevin, that is really important and something to remember whenever you're kind of sending anyone a series of emails is in that series of emails, open the door and let them know you're probably going to get another email about this if you don't do anything.
Mm-hmm.
So they are not going to be shocked and feel like it's super annoying. You're kind of like saying, hey, I'll be back. I'll be asking again. So don't be shocked when you see the next email. So just easy ways to kind of bridge and soften what I think some of you may get sort of nervous about automation. Really try to think about how you make automated messages more human and make them just clear about what their purpose is and what they're trying to accomplish and what's going to happen next. And all that will make those emails work better and also probably just make you feel better about what you're sending out in an automated way.
Oh, I love this. I love this so much. So like, now I'm just thinking, now we're just brainstorming on the fly here of like how to almost disguise your second or third review ask by maybe sending them an article on upkeep for their home, on like 6 things to do in the spring on your new home. Oh, and by the way, if you haven't left a review yet, I would really appreciate it. We're a small business. So like it's almost an afterthought, but it's still in there, And so there's creative ways to do that.
And real quick, don't forget to bold this thing at the bottom. How often does your eyes just scan over plain text? Put that leave a review in a bold, catch their eye. I think James mentioned in his marketing webinar. These little tips and tricks can learn where you can draw their eyes to. Make sure they see that. Don't just leave it in plain text at the bottom that I can kind of gloss over.
Love it. And then text down here. We didn't even talk about text messages. Make sure to do it through text because some people are only on their phones and it's got to be a link that can go through. Yep. Guilty. And I would venture to say some people, it increases their likelihood to leave you a review for the sheer fact it comes through on their text. Maybe they never check their emails. So don't be afraid of text. Ask in person, tee it up, let them know they're going to receive it, ask multiple times, get over that hurdle, and then think about language like these guys referred to on how to show awareness that you're asking multiple times and then kind of setting their expectations. We could probably talk about reviews for a whole hour, but we'll leave that for another day.